is Gematria? And what is the significance of Hebrew letters being both letters and numbers?
Okay, so the question is, what is Gematria? So Gematria, literally translated, Gematria, there's different ways out of actually what this word means. It's possible that the word Gematria is an adapted word from Greek. That guy is a number, and matria is wisdom. So it's like the wisdom of numbers. Or there's other sources that say that Gematria is really Gai in Hebrew is a valley. Like you say, Gehenim, Gaihenim. It's a valley of Hinnom. So Gai is a valley, and Matria, Matra, in Aramaic is a mountain. So the valley corresponds to the mountain, which means that what you pull out of from here, you have over here. There's like a Gemara that talks about a Megillah with Achashverosh and Haman, with like a mountain and something that's the opposite of a mountain, something that was dug on the roof. So this is like each one fills each other. Okay, that's the idea. Some say that Gematria is geometry. Really, that's the word. The word Gematria is like related to the English word geometry, which is also Greek. Yeah, but let's understand what's the oimek of this. What's the depth of this idea of Gematria? Because the Mishnah already calls it papiros. The Mishnah says that these are called like the spices of wisdom. And truth be told, that even in the Gemara, even in the Talmud, there are certain ideas that are revealed through Gematria, through number equivalences. Like the idea of a Nazir being 30 days is because it says he has, and it's numerically 30. There's certain things that Chazal read. Not that I should be just more a little clear. It's not that Chazal understood that to be a Nazir. If someone says, I want to be a Nazir, so the normal state of a Nazir is to be a Nazir, to let your hair grow long and not drink wine. So the idea is that you have to be for at least for 30 days, because it says, ye shall be. So it could be that there was a Messiah already, it was a tradition that's the definition, and then they tied it also to the Gematria. But it's definitely in the Gemara, in the Chazal already, in the Talmud, there's many mentions of Gematria. So the deeper understanding is as follows, that the Gematria of something, which is the number equivalence between two things, is not the proof of this, let's say, cosmological, theological, philosophical connection. Rather, it's the other way around. That there is a deeper connection between these two ideas that's expressed as well in the world of its number equivalence. So you'll have these two ideas. These two ideas represent a certain quality of something, and they have an equivalence, a philosophical, theological, and cosmological connection, let's say. And then what the Gematria is doing is the Gematria is showing it on its most external manifestation of that idea. This is a principle that the Ramban writes. His student also, Rabbeinu Bechaya in Kat Kama Chatzitzis, writes this. This is a very important principle. The Yavitz, a famous scholar in the 1700s, son of Chacham the Yavitz writes in a sefer called Lach Shemaim, he writes that the word Moshe means Moshe Rabbeinu, Moshe, is numerically 345, Shin Mem He, right? 345. And he says, in Sifra Kabbalah and Sifra Soid, it says that Moshe is the numeric value of Kel Shakai, the name of Hashem, one of the names of God. But he says it's also Lakim Acherim, foreign gods. So he says you can take the word Moshe and say it means idol worship or the name of Hashem. So he's saying, because sometimes if you're just functioning on the world of Gematria on its own, and you're not understanding a deeper connection, then it's not only in the realm of silly, it could be in the realm even of heresy. Because you can say Moshe Rabbeinu is numerically Lakim Acherim. So we have to be careful when we're talking about that. When we're talking about Gematria, that there's a deeper understanding of this connection, and then it's something that's revealed. The external connection is revealed on the level of its number equivalence. And principally, the root of this idea is because Lashon Kodesh, which is called the Holy Tongue, why is it called the Holy Tongue? Why is Lashon Kodesh called the Holy Tongue? So the Rambam in the Moyer writes, in the Guide to Perplex writes the reason, and correspondingly, as a rebuttal to that, the Ramban wrote a long letter called the Igros Kodesh, the sacred letter, where he talks about the idea of Lashon Kodesh and about intimacy, physical intimacy. Also, the Ramban in Kisisa, in his commentary on the Torah on Kisisa, the Ramban explains that the reason why it's called Lashon Kodesh, called the sacred tongue, the holy tongue, is because it's the language of creation and revelation. That the way Hashem revealed himself, however we understand that, through the ages, through the prophets, was through Lashon Kodesh. This was the medium through which the prophet understood the transmission. So therefore it's a sacred tongue, and it's the language of creation. That the letters of the Torah are the creating blocks of creation. So let's explain like this. That there is, every language, when I say a table is a table, and we call a table, and a chair is something that you sit on, that is arbitrary. There's no inherent connection between the word table and a table, seemingly. There's no connection between the word chair and a physical chair, what a chair is. Theoretically, we can decide that a table is called a chair and a chair is called a table. This is called Lashon Haskami. This means a consensual language, which means there's a certain consensus amongst people that when you phrase this phraseology, when you say this formation of this structure, table, it means table. Chair means chair. This is the Ran writes beginning of the Dharam, that it's Lashon Haskami. It's almost the language of nations is a Lashon Haskami, which means a consensual language. There's a certain consensus, this is what it means. Lashon HaKodesh is not a language of consensus. It's not, but it's a language of revelation and creation, which it means like this, that when you have the letters in Lashon Kodesh, in the sacred language, that is Shin Lamed Ches Nun, which in Hebrew spells the word Shulchan, these letters are the animating force that gives rise to the construct of an idea of a table. That it's not just, we can theoretically call a shulchan, which is a table in Hebrew, in Lashon Kodesh, we can call it something else. No, you can't. Because Lashon Kodesh is not just a consensus, this is what we're going to call the word table as table. But Lashon Kodesh means the language is the essence of the table. The essence of the table is Shin Lamed Ches Nun. That's the essence of the table. Therefore, the manifestation of that essence, that spiritual vibration which resonates in a particular way, of Shin that resonates in a particular way, and with a Lamed and a Ches and Nun in this formation, gives rise to the idea of a table. That's why in Hebrew, in Lashon Kodesh, things are not called things, they're called dvarim, they're called speeches, which means that everything is created by the world is created through divine speech. The world is created through divine utterances. The medium through which infinity expresses itself into finitude is through language, through sound. There is the silence that precedes the sound, and the sound arises from the place of the infinite silence and gives rise to the different formations of sound. And then this tziruf, this combination of these particular sounds, gives rise sort of like to the shulchan. So the shulchan, the matter, the physical matter, is really an exchange or a crystallization of its energy. Energy and matter are two sides of the same coin. So there's the matter of the table, then there's the energy of the table, that's the physical energy, and then there's the meta energy of that table, which is the formation of these four letters in its spiritual vibration. Sort of it's vibrating in this particular sound, this particular structure, as these four letters, and they come together, and it shows up in the manifest world, it shows up as the idea of a table. So therefore, when you have two things that don't seem to be related to each other, and then you understand that they are related to each other, because just by discovering, or maybe because of your understanding of Torah and your general understanding of life. And then you see that they're connected, then you will find that they will be also manifested in their number equivalents. And the number equivalents will be the final manifestation of what that truth is. That truth is that exists, that they're resonating on a deep spiritual level, that they're connected, on a meta level they're connected, and then it would show up in its most external form that they're also connected on the level of their number equivalents. This is with regards to Lashon Kodesh. Lashon Kodesh is the sacred language, the holy language. Lashon Kodesh is the language of the shoresh, the root, and the other languages of the world, the 70 languages in particular, that's like the meta languages. I know there's five families of language, but in its expression, it's in 70. So the external expression of that is, and which is the other languages, is the language that's called achoronis. It's called the backside. So it's the language of the pnim, of the internal, and there's the language of the achorayim, which is of the backside. Or to say it a little bit different, there's the language of the klal, of the principle, and then there's the language of the prat, or the detail, or the pirush, which is the interpretation. This is the way that the Ravid and Hilchos Krishma and on the Rambam actually calls Shar Lashon as pirush, like the interpretation, which means like this. And this is important to understand because you will find that sometimes great people throughout history, great scholars, have done number equivalents, not only with Lashon Kodesh, but even with the colloquial language. You find this already in Avraham Abolafia, but you find also in the Ramak, where they'll take words that are not Lashon Kodesh and not part of the sacred language, and they'll say, but if you write them out in Hebrew letters, this is the number equivalents, and therefore they represent this. Certainly later in Chassidus Sfarim, later Chassidic Sfarim, there's a lot of that. Words like nar, Gematria, shoita, there's like a lot of things that they will say, like a Yiddish word, and say its numeric value represents this, and therefore it's sheikh mitzvotz and whatever, some type of connection, and they'll connect like a Yiddish word, or to a number equivalence, to a gematria, to something. So we have to understand why. Why is that? So like this. On the one hand, all the languages of the world, besides Lashon Kodesh, is Haskami. Haskami means is like a consensus. That's what the language is. So I'll give you a halachic example for this. Let's say in the laws of Krishma, of reading of Shema, so the Chacham say, the Gemara Baruch says that the Chacham say that you're allowed to read Shema, you're allowed to say the Shema in any language that you can. Shema b'chol lashon Hashem. Any language that you can say Shema, you're allowed to say it. When the Rama writes his halacha, the Rama codifies his halacha, the Rama writes, but so long as you understand the language. So if you want to read Shema, and you want to understand what you're saying, and you're an American that never read Shema, so you can say the translation of Shema, if you understand what you're saying, and you're saying it in the country that you're saying it, according to Mishnah, let's say, and you're saying it, so you fulfill the obligation of Shema, if you say any other language. What happens if you say in the Lashon Kodesh? If you say it in the original language? So you're Yotze, you fulfill obligation even if you don't understand. Why? Because the other language is Lashon Haskami, is consensus. So if you understand the language, and that's the language people speak in that country, so then you understand what you say. If you don't understand, then you're speaking gibberish. But when you say it in Lashon Kodesh, when you say it in the sacred language, it's a creative process. You're tapping into the creative process through which gives rise to that idea. So even if you don't understand it, it's not about your understanding, right? The table is a shulchan, whether you call it a shulchan or you don't call it a shulchan. You're following? Whether you call it in the Hebrew word or you don't. A table in China is still a shulchan, even though no one's calling it a shulchan. No one's calling it a shulchan there. That doesn't matter, because the essence of the table is a shulchan. And in Chinese, you're going to call it however you call it a table in Chinese. But because there's an expression of the backside, so I don't know, I have to explain, I have to think about it like this. There's the divine shefa, the divine flow that's coming down into this world, formulates into a particular form of shin, lam, and ches, nun, these four letters, and it gives rise to the idea of table. And then it becomes a table. But if an American looks at the table and never heard the word shulchan, when they see this table, they call it table. Now, it could say it's just a random coincidence at the end that I'm calling it a table. But the fact that there's an hashgacha in this world, there's a certain understanding that there's hashgacha, there's a divine providence. The fact that people call table is not just random. It's because they're seeing the table from its backside. They're not seeing its table from its pnim, from its internality, from its essence. They're seeing it from the external, which means they're seeing it from the other languages. There's the Lashon Kodesh is, the sacred language is a Lashon Echad. That's the way the Torah describes it, by the Tower of Babel. It's called a singular language, which means it's called a single language because it expresses the oneness of Hashem. Therefore, you're seeing everything as Hashem's presence. That's where you're seeing Dvarim. You're not seeing things. You're seeing the Dvar Hashem, the name of Hashem, the word of Hashem that's animating every single thing in creation. That's how you're seeing it. But when a regular person that doesn't have that intimate spiritual connection sees a table, just sees a table. And he sees it as T-A-B-L-E, right? So he sees it as table. What that means is he's experiencing it from its backside. But he's still experiencing it, right? And he may even actually relate to the table. Maybe he is a spiritual person. Maybe he is someone that doesn't know Lashon Kodesh well, doesn't know the sacred language well, but he's also Noivad Hashem in his own way, right? And maybe that and the table to him means something. He learns on his table, he davens on his table, he prays on his table, but he calls it a table. But he's seeing it from almost the backside of it. You're following? So therefore, just like there will be in a number of equivalents, this is the depth of the idea. Just like there'll be a number of equivalents between two words in Lashon Kodesh, there has to be also a number of equivalents. And here it's much more tricky, and I don't know if you should be doing this, but there has to be a number of equivalents between a Hebrew word and all its interpretations into every language. Because every language is seeing it, you can see something directly, and then you can see things through, indirectly, like a reflection. But at the end of the day, you're seeing it. You're not seeing it in a direct way, but you're seeing the reflection of it. You're seeing it through a mirror, let's say. So you're looking through a glass, you see the thing directly. You look through a mirror, you also see the thing, but you're seeing it through your own self. Your own self is observing the thing that you're seeing. That's the other languages. The other languages is through the world, through the prism of creation, looking at the Creator's creation. But also looking at the Creator's creation. That's why in its highest version of Lashon Kodesh, that when it's Fanya, it says in the prophets that there'll come a time there'll be a Safa Brura Lashon, that will be a perfect language, and all the languages will be refined. It's when there's the inclusion of all the Achoronius, all the backside of languages, which Dari calls Aramaic in Kabbalah Kaddish, all the backside become part of the Pnim. What is that? How does that translate? When the whole world recognizes the oneness of Hashem, and every single person sees the oneness of Hashem through every single prism, through every single expression, that will be the ultimate Lashon Kodesh. So the Lashon Kodesh of the future is the language of all languages unified into the sacred language of expressing the oneness of Hashem. And that's why you see in the Torah itself, the Torah already hints at this idea where it has other languages, like Yigar Sadus, and the Torah puts already other languages into the Torah, saying this is the way the Torah will be revealed in the future, which means when the whole entire world recognizes the oneness of Hashem, Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokei Hashem Echad, the Achdus, the oneness of Hashem, when the entire world can say Shema in a correct way, like Rashi says, now it's Hashem Echad for us, Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokei new, but it will eventually become Hashem Echad for the whole world will recognize the oneness of Hashem, then all the languages will be elevated to the place of Lashon Kodesh. So therefore there is, in very, very short, I mean this is a very long answer to a short question, but it's important. There is always connections. We have to understand the inner connection, We can't start off from the external connection because then you just end up making connections that are just not there, and it's on the realm of the absurd. When you understand the deeper connection, you understand in the depth, you can externally see also the connection on the level of gematria, of number equivalents, and you can even see that in other languages.